All right, y'all, I'm on Penn's campus. I'm about to go live. Actually, I am live, but I need to turn on my... Check. All right, everybody. I don't know how much echo there is on this thing, but I'm going to be up here saying a few words. I don't know if folks can hear me, but if you see my shirt, you can probably read it. It says Brown, born in USA, and I guess I'm next, right? I hope everybody knows what that means, what I'm alluding to. It's actually, it's a little crazy to be here on Penn's campus. I graduated from Penn, undergrad, 2007. I'm born in Doylestown, grew up in Jersey, and I have been doing a lot of organizing in DC, back in South Jersey. And as I said, I first moved here to Philly in 2003. I stayed right over that way, Kings Court, for the undergrads here. I'm just pointing out for anybody viewing on YouTube, I don't know if I'll be able to set up my YouTube live because it's super windy out here, but you can see my shirt says, Brown, born in USA. I'm next, right? And it's really weird to be standing here as people are going throughout their day and doing their normal stuff. We're in a situation where it hardly seems that it has to be necessary to say of what a unbelievable, shitty place we're in. Now, I know those of us that have been organizing quite a long time understand the whitewashing of American history, understand that this country's entire story is based on whitewashing the truth of what we've done to various peoples. But right now we're seeing cruelty and authoritarianism on display like we've never seen before. And I don't know if folks really understand the point we're at, or the place that we're at. You know, my truck here has a few different names on it, which you're probably familiar with. And if you're not familiar with them, then you might want to fucking get on your research really quick, because these names have been all over the news, and it's been the slow trickle, not even a trickle now, it's been a rapid descent into silencing free speech, unlike we've ever seen before. Now, Abrego Garcia, as I'm sure some of you are aware, this dude was disappeared. He wasn't deported, all right? So get the fuck out of here with the word deported. Deported, which is despicable enough, implies due process. It implies that there was a actual set process that somebody went through, and for whatever reason, maybe they committed crimes, they were sent off in a legal, above-board way. Now, Kilmar was not in this situation. It was a quote-unquote administrative error, and he was not deported. He was kidnapped, and he was disappeared. And in fact, some would say that he was trafficked. He is being trafficked. You know why? Because no due process, zero input from him, zero control from him of the situation. And we know that he's being trafficked for entirely political means, for an entirely political purpose, to serve other people's motives. That's called trafficking. That's not deportation. So if you think that you're immune from this, if you're tuned out from politics, I get it. There's a lot going on. You're tuned out from the news. You literally don't have the fucking luxury to be tuned out anymore. You really don't have the luxury. Now, as I said, you could probably hear I don't really have an accent. I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Grew up in the Jers. I grew up in central Jersey. And my shirt if you can read it, it says, Brown, born in the USA. I guess I'm next. So I want to make it clear to Trump, to Marco Rubio, to all these other fucking cowards, that I'm not advocating for violence right now. Even if I criticize the state of Israel, that doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. So whatever I'm saying right now is free speech. And if y'all see me on the news, if you see me disappeared, you'll know what happened. We need everyone to exercise their privilege to stop what's happening right now. And I want to stress again, for those that are already in oppressed groups that are already marginalized, you know this story. You know this story, you know the risk that you have to avoid, you know the pros and cons of attending a protest. And for anyone with a decent amount of privilege that can put their body on the line, we need everyone out there doing that. And if that isn't clear to you, then I'm sorry. You might wake up in a month, a year, and find that a clothes-plains cop comes and checks out your phone for no reason. You could be a white, 9 generation here, white cis het male. Guess what? In a month, you criticize Trump, you're stopped for a speeding ticket, they take your phone, and they disappear you. If you don't think that's possible, then you need to wake the fuck up. I'm sorry, that's just there's no other way to say it. I'm not sure what else has to happen in the news for that to be clear to people. Now, I'm a therapist, right? So I do behavioral health therapy, one-on-one, and I totally understand why folks might be paralyzed in this moment. For folks like me that grew up in the States, we don't have a real concept for atrocities. As I said, yeah, some of us, we studied history, we know America's sins, we know the history isn't as they say, but we don't really know what it is for a police state to happen. We don't really know what it is for the most basic of our rights to be violated. And I have sympathy for that. I have sympathy for the idea of dissociating. I have sympathy for the idea of, hoping it'll all be okay, and the fact that you need to go through your day and do your thing. I get that. I understand that. But it's exactly that most of us that grew up in the United States and haven't been through a failed state, haven't lived under an autocracy, that's all the more reason that we have to be vigilant. So there's a lot of different ways to resist, right? There's a lot of different ways to protest. Everyone can occupy different lanes. Attending protests through groups like 5051 and Indivisible, that's an easy way to start. But more and more people are going to have to do what I'm doing right now, and a lot more. Because just protesting isn't going to do it. While there's still time, while they haven't totally replaced, military leaders, judicial folks, federal judges, while there's still time, there has to be such a massive resistance and fire that it makes people like military generals, like federal judges, it forces their hand, it makes them blink. And right now, we have protests, yes, and they're growing. But the response is way short of what it needs to be. And here's the cop coming here who's going to try to probably shut me down, even though I'm exercising my First Amendment. There's a lot of different ways to resist. And for those of you who haven't gotten in the game, I encourage you to do so. Hey sir, how are you? What's going on? Nothing, I'm just speaking my mind. Yep. Just me. So, as I said, I grew up in Jersey. I went to Penn undergrad. I was at UPenn 2003 to 2007. I dual degree in international studies and business, the Huntsman program. So it's been a long time that I've been on this campus, around this campus. And I thought it was fitting that I should speak here because of one of the main centers for silencing free speech, and that's universities. We saw Columbia cave, unfortunately. We saw Harvard stand up. And that's still in process. Now, we know that education is one of the main targets of an administration moving into an autocracy. You ban books, you ban information, you ban learning. You make it so hard on these universities to function that you basically quell all kinds of learning. And that, along with free speech, is what's happening right now. Totally eroding all of the avenues and opportunities for us to educate our people and for people to speak out. I'm going to repeat this over and over again because I think it's really important. My shirt says, Brown, born in the USA. I'm South Asian. My parents came from India in early 70s. I'm as American as it gets, all right? My family's immigrant story. They came in the early 70s. They made it. I was born in Doylestown, grew up in New Jersey. And so I guess I'm next, right? They've gone after folks with, that's right, they've gone after folks with green cards. They've gone after folks with active visas. Now they're disappearing people who literally did nothing wrong. Literally did nothing. So I'm right here. Marco Rubio, Trump, anybody else, if you think that you're so tough that you can silence free speech in this country, as I said, I guess I'm next. So I'll be out here speaking. You can come get me if you want. But for those of you listening to my voice, just know if I get disappeared, I didn't go on vacation, all right? I was disappeared. That's the place that we're at right now. I mean, looking around, I see a lot of non-white faces. I see a lot of people at risk for just existing. All right, we got another cop. And I see a lot of people, right now it's people of color that are in the crosshairs for simply existing. I tell my friends this, my friends of color, all the time. If you think that just keeping to yourself and talking about Trump and whomever in the administration on your socials, if you think that's going to keep you totally safe, you are insane. You're crazy, and that should be obvious to everyone right now. My thing has always been keep your eyes open. Don't be naive to what's coming. You can still choose to rag on Trump in your socials. You can still do all that stuff. But if you think that you are immune to a few fucking cowards in hoodies coming up and apprehending you, you're wrong. I really want to push people, if you have the privilege. I don't have a family. I don't have kids. Thankfully, I have family that can support me if I get taken in. So I'm using my privilege to make a stand. And we need a lot more of this across the board. We need to make these people blink, and we need to force the supposed adults to make a move and stop this shit before it's too late. I mean, based on what's going on with Kilmar, that should be extremely obvious to everyone. You had Trump have an Oval Office meeting with the dictator of El Salvador, in which Trump is sitting there smirking. He's sitting there smirking as the president is explaining why he can't return this man. And they've been told by a federal judge. The courts have, obviously they've ruled, you got to return him. You have to return him. And what you're seeing right now is the executive basically being like, fuck you, to the courts, in as brazen and open a way as possible. Now, yes, there's the Patriot Act, there's ICE, all this shit has been along for a long time. I've been organizing on these issues for a long time. But never before has an executive branch so clearly been like, you know what, fuck all the rules, fuck the other branches of government, we're gonna do what we wanna do. So openly and transparently that if that isn't alarming to people, if that doesn't wake people up, I don't know what will. I hope that most of you know Project 2025, which is the blueprint for transferring or transitioning to a unitary executive. This is the blueprint that was created by Heritage Foundation. And it's actually been around for a few years now. 2022, I think, is when it was created. And it's amazing how folks are like, oh, what's Trump going to do? What's this administration going to do? What are they doing? It's very obvious what they're doing. They told us what they're going to do and they're doing it. If you look at the language of executive orders up until this point, and then you look at Project 2025, it's stunning, the overlap in language. What you have is a move toward a unitary executive where the other branches of government simply don't matter anymore. They don't matter. And we're seeing that. The judges' decisions aren't mattering. What does SCOTUS do when Trump is basically like, fuck you, we heard you, return Garcia, but we're not going to do it? What is the recourse outside of the military? How rapidly are they replacing military personnel? Now, again, I'm not saying that everyone has to drop what they're doing and be violent. I'm not advocating violence. What I'm saying is people need to open their eyes to where we are. And it seems like a lot of folks are still actively denying or thinking that it'll all be all right, thinking that it'll work itself out. People are talking about the midterms. The midterms? You out of your mind? How you doing? Maybe like a half hour. Just me. The midterms. I mean, you know, if there's anything that's made it clear that the electoral system is not going to save us, it's the Democrats and their utter lack of desire to do shit, which shouldn't be surprising. We know that the Democratic establishment is all about retaining their power. They don't really stand on principle for anything. In fact, you had 10 members of Congress censure Al Green. 10 Democrats censure Al Green. Think about that. The Democrats should have shut that entire speech down, made it so fucking loud you couldn't hear yourself think, and then walked out of there. Instead, they've got these little signs, oh, that's great, resist, blah, blah, blah. But when Al Green stood up, these motherfuckers did nothing. They did nothing. And 10 of them voted to censor Al Green. So it just goes to show you, outside of Bernie, AOC, and even them, even they are saying, hey, you know, this is terrible oligarchy, but we need to have faith in the system. No, you cannot have faith in Democrats anymore than you did 2 years ago. This is about people power. The only thing that stops what is happening right now and the move toward a dictator, functionally a dictator, is if massive people are in the streets resisting of all stripes that you can possibly think of. Doing what I'm doing, going to protests, going to rallies, calling your politicians and demanding they do something, writing letters, whatever it is. All of the above strategy. And for anybody who thinks that it won't get dangerous and it won't get violent, you'd better start preparing yourself for it, one way or the other. Either we live or we continue down a track of autocracy where pretty much all free speech is and all dissent is silenced, or the resistance reaches such a pitch that, as I said, it forces those that still can use checks and balances, use institutions to stop what's happening. That's what we need right now. Unfortunately, these people, even our supposed allies, they don't listen to just peaceful protest. You know, on April 5th, we had, what? I want to say 1.5 million people show up across the country. Every state capital, we had probably I don't know, 150,000 in DC? Do you see Democrats doing anything really meaningful? Do you see Democrats putting themselves on the line, risking anything? Do you even hear anyone saying anything with any kind of will or passion? No, they're staying in their lanes. Because for them, it's more important to maintain their power and retain their seat in office than to rile the powers that be. I've said it a few times now. My shirt, I'm out here, it says, Brown, born in USA. I'm next, right? My passport, right here. Passport's right around my neck. I was born in the USA. And I can't help but think I'm next. You know, I'm an activist. I'm out here pretty visible in Jersey and PA and DC. What's going to stop them? What's going to stop them from saying, hey, this dude was born in India, even though I wasn't. I have my birth certificate. I have my passport. But really, after this El Salvador situation, what would stop them from saying, he was born in India, we're going to deport him? What he's saying is a threat to national security, domestic terrorism, even though I'm saying nothing that shouldn't be obvious to anyone who's paying even the remotest bit of attention. God forbid somebody criticize the state of Israel and they use that as a pretext to silence people and take them away because they're quote unquote aligned with Hamas. What the fuck is that? Even if somebody was aligned with Hamas, it's not a crime. Get used to, in the name of protecting against domestic terror, get used to anything and everything being grounds for you to be disappeared. And I can't stress this enough. If you aren't paying attention to the news, if you don't see what's happening, at least think of yourselves and your own families. You could be the whitest person on earth, the richest person on earth. You might want to be careful because in a week, in a month, in a year, you say the wrong thing and you're disappeared. And if you think that that's hyperbole, if you think that's melodrama, then I would really urge you to reconsider. It's the folks with privilege that we need right now. I consider myself to have a lot of privilege. Yeah, I'm a brown man, so that comes with its own risks, but I was born here. I have family around tri-state area. I got a good education. My family situation is such that I can take on risk. And so that's what I'm doing, because I'll say it over and over again, I see me as the next logical person for them to go after. Person of color, born here, a real patriot, unlike these motherfuckers in the administration. Who's next? After I'm taken away, who's next? Is it, I don't know, white, well-to-do, middle-class, upper-class folks? Is it somebody who looks just a little bit lighter than me, but is also born here in the USA? For anybody that saw that press conference between Trump and the El Salvadorian president, the dictator, for anybody who's been watching what they're doing to Mahmoud Khalil, it's fucking insane. What the hell are we doing? Why did they feel the need to send Mahmoud Khalil and Ramesa Ozturk to Louisiana? Do you understand why they did that? It's because it's an immigration court that's far away from federal courts, and it's more of an administrative thing than anything. By sending them down there, they can at least somewhat below the radar deem them a national security threat and quote unquote deport them. When they're not getting deported, they're getting trafficked. They're getting abducted and they're getting trafficked. I mean, what the fuck are we doing? What is it going to take for us? What is it going to take when we see these people being disappeared. I don't know if y'all have seen, but I suggest you watch it. I suggest you watch the video of Rumeisa Ozturk going home from, I think she was a meal to end Ramadan. Going home, and you had several men in hoodies, walk up in broad daylight and take her. In broad daylight, in plain clothes, they took her. Why? Because she wrote an op-ed on Israel-Palestine. I mean, who the fuck do these people think they are? Just thinking about her walking home after being with her friends and being abducted. These are random people. They didn't ID themselves. They weren't uniformed. It could have been anybody. And they whisk her away, and they send her, 14 hours away to Louisiana. How much more brazen and out in the open do these things have to get? Really? How much more is it going to take? You have Trump in the Oval Office basically cozying up to this dictator, because we all know Trump has a thing for strongmen, putting that mildly. He's sitting there smirking at the notion that somebody that they disappeared off the street wrongly, who's now probably going to die in this mega prison in El Salvador with his family back home in the United States. This motherfucker is sitting here smirking. Does anybody have any idea the lack of humanity that shows? As I said, I'm a therapist, and part of me has sympathy because I think Trump, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, these are broken men. They're broken men. They don't understand why they do what they do. Maybe they weren't unconditionally loved, and I don't mean that as a toss-away, hokey, cliched line. I mean that. But what you're seeing is people who have no clue about their inner worlds, and all they can do is use cruelty, more and more and more cruelty to fill that hole inside them. And the idea that they're going to stop, the idea that a court order is going to stop them in the face of such abject cruelty. Grown-ass men, forget even politicians, grown-ass men taking utter glee in somebody wrongly being sent to a mega prison in another country, probably never to be returned. If one single grown-ass man did that, you would keep them far away from yourself, far away from your children. We're talking about the leaders of this country, and more power is being consolidated in their hands. That's not a down the line thing, that's not a hypothetical, that's right now. This isn't normal, even for USA's, all of the surveilling, all the history of COINTELPRO, and all of the history of attacking and keeping on the fringes marginalized people. The people we're talking about now are sociopaths, pure sociopaths. And they're exercising Project 2025, they're carrying it out to perfection. One of the architects of Project 2025, I'm not sure if it was Russell Vought or somebody else, said that Project 2025 is going more amazingly than he could have ever imagined. I think it's something like 50% of the measures in Project 2025 are already instituted. I mentioned I don't have kids myself, I'm not married, but I think most about my nephews, my nieces, my little cousins, putting aside the fact that I'm brown, putting aside the fact that if they go to college and they're walking around and they just had a class on poli-sci and some fucking fascist comes up and tries to arrest them, putting that aside, do we really want our kids to grow up in a society where you can be detained for thought crime? Do we really want that? Even if I knew my nephews, nieces, my little cousins would be okay, would be insulated from harm, the thought that they would be growing up in a society where they literally cannot speak their mind, it's unfathomable to me, but it's also crystal clear to me that that's where we're headed. You know, some people are like, Samir, I think you're being like a little bit, you're exaggerating. You're being a little melodramatic. Fuck that. Are you out of your fucking mind? Anybody who thinks that this is a moment for hyperbole is either not paying attention or extremely in denial. And as I said, I have sympathy for that. Those of us that grew up here, we don't really know what going through this is, and we kind of have to go through it. It's almost like a coming of age story. You can read about all the dictatorships you want in a book, but the ways in which you have to be vigilant, you won't really know until you go through it. And we're going through that right now, and if it's not too late, it's very, very close to being too late. What you need to do is, to stop this, you need to resist with any and every tool that you can think of. Not everybody's going to be able to get on a truck and speak like this. I get that. Not everyone is going to be able to do a sit-in. Not everyone is going to be able to do civil disobedience. But the time to do what you can is now, and the time to push yourself is now. If it's uncomfortable for you to go and track down a politician and demand that they stop Trump, that they make sure that federal orders from judges are enforced, you gotta push your fucking comfort zone, and you gotta do it right now. My shirt, I'll say it again. It says Brown, born in USA. I'm next, right? Got my passport right here. Passport's right here. I invite Marco Rubio, JD Vance, Trump, ICE. I don't give a fuck who it is. ATF. If I'm such a threat, come get me. I live in South Jersey. My address won't be hard to find. And if I am disappeared, if I am abducted, just like the folks on these signs were, you'll know exactly what happens. Every single person listening to my voice right now has to plan for that scenario where you or a member of your family is disappeared right now for speaking out, and soon for whatever it is you have on your phone right now. Whatever it is that you're talking to your friend about, you think nobody's listening. This is not hyperbole. This is where we are. I'm just going to speak on Israel and Palestine for a second, because that is the supposed reason that Rumeysa and Mahmoud were kidnapped and disappeared. It should go without saying. The fact that I even have to say it, it's fucking incredible to me. It's incredible. Criticizing the state of Israel, criticizing a state's policy, political policy, geopolitics, what they're doing as a nation, is not the same as anti-Semitism. It's so plain as day. The fact that it even has to be said is ridiculous. But that's kind of the point. Because the folks that are using this as a pretext to disappear people know this. They know that one thing does not equal the other. They know that being quote unquote aligned with Hamas is not a crime. They know that having an opinion that, God forbid, is pro-Palestine and pro the people of Gaza is not a crime. This is literally just, we don't like what you're saying. We want to disappear you anyway because you're not the right person for this mythical America that we want to recreate. So we're going to use any and all reasons to disappear you. It's plain as day. White people, you're last up. You're last up in this chain. If you're white and you're stable, relatively well-to-do, you think you're insulated from this? I don't know what to tell you if you think you're insulated from the track that we're on, the level of silencing free speech, that path that we're going down. No one is immune from this. That line of first they came after X, then they came after Y, then they came after Z. Yeah, it sounds like a cute little line, right? Where do you think that comes from? That comes from other nations in which those people that are increasingly more privileged aren't paying any fucking attention. And they think that they'll be safe. Even if they don't have exposure to the people that are most at risk, they think they'll be safe. Then what happens? They find that they're just standing at a protest and they are detained. They are disappeared. All of this language around, the run up to 30s Germany, 30s Germany, 30s Germany. People need to understand that that is not a faraway concept. I don't know what else needs to be said for people to realize that is not a faraway concept. What you're seeing right now with these three individuals, you're not starting on the path towards that place. You're halfway there already. And that is the curse of having lived on the city on the hill for so long, is you don't see it. You don't see that you're halfway down that path already. I can understand why it happens. My housemate and I, we were, it boggles the fucking mind. It boggles the mind that what we see as clear, the danger that we see as clear, we still see the vast majority of people turn a blind eye to it. Say, what are you gonna do? Say, it'll work itself out. Who told me to shut the fuck up? Who's that? I mean, you should be out here joining me. I don't know what you're thinking telling me to shut the fuck up, but that goes to show you, people are asleep. Anybody who's listening to this, let alone if you're a person of color, I'll say it one last time. If you think that the consequences for you are not there, or that this could never happen to you, I hope that you're heeding this and other warnings. Because what's happening to the folks on these signs, it's about to be so common that it's going to happen to pretty much all of us. I think I'm going to head down to the federal courthouse, 6th and Market, and continue the message. And once again, final reminder, open invitation for ICE, Trump, Rubio. If I'm up next, I'm right here. You can come get me.